mentioned this concept of joining together with churches of other faiths or with other faiths in order to realize something significant for the work of God. And I want to ask you to the extent that that is accomplished, how does that jibe with the Adventist concept of not being involved in quote-unquote ecumenicalism and ecumenical type activities? How do you balance that?
That's a good question, and I'm sure there are people who would raise that question.
Yes.
Whenever there's an initiative of this sort. I believe it's something that we have to explain before we begin.
Okay.
Something we will probably have to explain over and over.
Okay.
I am not sure everybody will get it and agree with it.
Okay.
What I'm talking about is not ecumenism.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm talking about, and before I even say that, let me say that healthy churches,
Yes.
which is something that I'm keenly interested in, because some churches are very, very strong in some areas,
Mm-hmm.
but you probably can't call them healthy because they're weak in other areas.
Okay.
I believe the balanced, healthy church
Mm-hmm.
will have as one indicator of that balance and health,
Mm-hmm.
how well it networks with the community,
Mm-hmm.
like your community board,
Yes.
and other people, just not churches, just people and institutions in the church's neighborhood and community. And since churches are a part of the neighborhood and community, I really believe that we can find a way to network with them and not cross the line and become a part of any ecumenical movement.
Okay.
Clergy coalitions. I belonged to that when I was in the Bronx. A lot of Adventist pastors perhaps are too busy for it,
Okay.
but where we are not too busy for it, I think the church reaps some benefits.
Okay.
Some of these First Day churches, for example, are led by pastors who have been in the community for more than a quarter of a century.
Mm-hmm.
These guys know the politicians a whole lot better than we will ever know them.
Mm-hmm.
And if we network with them,
Mm-hmm.
there are times when they're going to help us. We are going to get some benefits.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe there is a universal body of Christ.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, Ellen White talks about that. The Bible teaches that.
Okay.
The body of Christ is not confined to the Seventh-day Adventist Church.
Okay.
I believe we are special. I believe the Remnant Church and the Seventh-day Adventist Church are one and the same.
Mm-hmm.
Having said that, there are other sheep that are not of this fold.
Okay.
And I believe having wholesome relationships with other Christian people, in fact, people of other religions,
Okay.
is a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
The salt of the earth cannot remain in a jar. You know,
Okay.
the salt of the earth has to be out of that jar.
Okay. Sprinkled about.
Exactly.
Not just in your own little
Exactly.
spot, but all. And if it's
Exactly.
lumped too much, it'll be a little bit too salty.
And when the salt intermingles and mixes,
Mm-hmm.
the salt is still the salt.
Okay. If it was true salt in the
If it
first
is true
place.
salt, it will preserve that which it touches,
Mm-hmm.
and it will still remain salt.
Okay.
So I'm not worried about us getting lost as we fellowship and network.